Okay, so let me live is just what you're hearing. Let me live. This is what many of us and many of our family members and many of our friends want to do in New York City. But we've encountered a lot of issues when it comes to just having a safe, reliable place to call home. So our project revolves around the housing crisis and tenant harassment in New York City. And during COVID, this was an issue that was highlighted because everybody, was having issues with evictions. But it mainly just, highlighted an issue that was always there. And it's not just about eviction, it's about so many other things that have to do with tenant harassment. So our app, Let Me Live, is geared towards providing a voice and trying to find solutions for people to have better tools to combat tenant harassment in New York City and hopefully in other cities as well.
Cool. And so what we want to let you know is that this is also anonymous so that anybody can anyone facing tenant harassment can use our app. And hopefully what this will do is implement a way where people can see the struggles of people facing tenant harassment, read their stories, empathize. And that's really the first step, right? To any problem in the world, you have to get awareness for it. So that's what we're doing here with Let Me Live.
So here we have our FAQ page. So basically, the main parts of our app that we have right now are our community reports and the availability for someone to actually submit their own report. So a little more, and we'll get to that once you see the different features. But as we know, Let Me Live is an online app that provides a platform for tenants to be able to report anonymously any type of tenant harassment that they're experiencing. For now, it is for New York City residents, but hopefully with time, we'll be able to expand to other cities. And, it comes to worry sometimes when people are, talking about issues like tenant harassment, like who am I giving this information to? So we just wanted to make sure that, that people know we're not affiliated with a company or any real estate industry or private companies and so on, or any entities for profit. And some of the plans that Let Me Live has for the future is that we would like to provide, even more in our app beyond the submitting reports and seeing the rest of the community reports. Hopefully, being able to connect tenants with even more resources or the next steps that they can take. Um, and also hopefully, it could become a whole entity in which we can get donations and, it can build upon that. And of course, at the bottom, you know, we'll let you know it later on the team page, like who the team is and so on. But this is where you can come to just kind of know a little bit about the app and where it's moving forward.
Cool. So let's look at a demonstration of how we would submit a report. And so we would go to the submit a report link over here. And here we have a form where you can just say what happened, where it took place, and we tell our users not to put addresses, right? And how this incident made you feel. Sometimes there are ways that we can empathize with people, and we really need to know how this made a person feel. And we'll look at some stories of some people that we got from the internet. And yeah, so there's have you sought help for this problem, and what would you like done? It's going to show incomplete now because we haven't done anything. But let's let's test something out. Let's just say test, and we'll see this pop up in our view reports in a little bit. So now we can see that we can submit. We're going to click submit, and it takes us to the community reports page. And it's going to show up every single report will show up here, and it's going to show up in this first panel right here.
Nice.
Cool. And so as we can see, we have some stories that we took from the internet, just to use as dummy data. Nobody has used this yet, but we can see water leaking from upstairs, neighbor into my apartment, landlord won't fix. This is a common problem. It happened in Brooklyn. But yeah, so what this is like basically an outlet where people can share, yeah, this is what happened to me. This is what I want the world to see. And people working in governments, like they can see this is taking place. And especially like we can scrap data later on and see like which location, for instance, this happened in, like happens in most, and maybe create a map out of it.
Ishaf, can I add a point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the great thing about this MVP, because we talked about this a lot, we were so concerned about like privacy and data and making sure that anonymity was kind of the center core of how we were reporting this data. But one of the cool things for post MVP is that as more people start reporting, like Shafi said, we'll start to be able to see trends as far as like what are some of the common boroughs, what are some of the words that people are saying that they made, that some of the keywords that were used, and then we'll be able to add a little bit more logic to our form and add more options for people to be able to choose. Like these were the most common, problems that we saw over the last year of, so then we'll be able to make our form and data a little bit more robust.
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, also, once we get more information from tenants, we can then start breaking them down into, is it a construction type of tenant harassment, or, like not fixing things on time, or actually doing construction in order to make the tenant uncomfortable enough to move out? Is it more of like a psychological harassment? Is it physical harassment?
Right.
And those categories will be able to get filled up as we get more and more information from tenants. So that's also in a way that we want to be able to organize these reports in the future, as we start understanding more what the issues are from the tenants themselves that are giving us the information.
Yes, good point, Chioma. That's why we need data scientists on the web dev side as well.
Yeah, and also like this, since this is our MVP, we didn't have like authentication with this app. And what authentication basically is, like, people need to like, have some kind of login token to see or post something, right? And the reason we don't have it now is because we don't like, we're still in the process of learning it. And even after today, like my teammates and I are very passionate about this project, and we will continue to work on it. And because we see this as a really good project for our community. And yeah, that leads us to our About Us page, where we, just say like, that a little bit about what we need to do to change. And of course, the lovely team behind Let Me Live. And yeah, that is Let Me Live. It's been a great journey, like making this with my capstone partners. Like we have this wireframes that we've been looking on, and like these proposals that we've made for like Joe's classes. Amazing memories. It's been amazing.
So many hours and meetups and late night discords.
Yeah. Now I was about to say, I feel like we've all learned from each other. Technically, also how to be more creative. I feel like Jahaziel really like brought that out on all of us. And Shafi definitely helped implement that with the Tailwind CSS. I gave
Oh
it a
my
track
gosh.
as well, like to Tailwind for this project, and really like understanding, especially when we made the personas. We all had our personal experiences with tenant harassment and evictions and things like that, but it was interesting to look for those stories and see how they shape the individual and what kind of solution we can give the community for that. So it's definitely something that we all embodied in from our different perspectives, and I think that's why we really wanted to build it out, and we'll continue to expand on it as well. So I'm really happy we got to do it.